Now, one of the most exciting careers that's out there today is being a pilot, right? And when you look at the journey of a pilot in terms of preparation, in terms of, or even earlier, inspiration, right? You've got a set path that you are kind of expected to follow. And even once you are trained to become a pilot and you've got the journey from first officer, senior first officer onto captain, there's a very direct path that you follow. But today there's a very interesting career path within being a captain, which is ACMI, right? Very different from the legacy model, from the usual route. I mean, 1 month you can be in Buenos Aires, which is in Latin America, and the following month you're halfway across the world in Europe, and the next month you could be even further, right? Southeast Asia. Very different experience, very different requirements, and very different demands on what a pilot needs to be. Is that the actual case? Is it exciting to be an ACMI pilot today? Stefano?
Yes, it's really exciting. I mean, it depends on you. If it fits to you, it's exciting. If you embrace it, it's like an adventure, okay? It's not like a simple job. It's like working for a company that is based in some place, maybe close to your home, where you are doing a daily routine. Every day, always the same stuff, always the same routes, always the same flight. Here is, you need to embrace something that is completely different, okay? Let's say that we fly the same airplane, we are the same crew, but then, we fit different companies. So the brand is completely different. So this is changing everything. And also the place where you go, you don't know. So it's exciting. You are waiting for, where I will be based next month. And this is something that keeps you alive.
Mm-hmm. And, Franco, just coming off what Stefano said here, obviously it's exciting, right? It's exciting on paper. You're moving different places, you are experiencing things that are very different. But in reality, I mean, is that not exhausting sometimes? Franco, what do you think?
I was thinking about what you just said. Moving this month you can be here, next month you can be there. Mm-hmm. You can maybe be more specific and say, today you are here, tomorrow you are there, not next month. Mm-hmm. So the variation can happen even faster than a month. Mm-hmm. So maybe there is a change in the roster and you have to move from one day to the other. Mm-hmm. And connecting to your question, at the beginning, when you have a roster change, for example, in ACMI is pretty common, the reaction could be, let's say, not the best one, because you are getting used to that base, and now you know that you have to change and move to another continent. But this reaction lasts not that long, because once you know that you have to go, and the pilot of Avion Express adaptability mm-hmm. is faster than the adaptability of a common pilot. Mm-hmm. So they adapt pretty fast to the new base, and then they like it. So at the beginning, the reaction can be a little bit rough from the pilot side, but then they get used very fast to the new base. And most of the time they enjoy the new experience mm-hmm. because since a new experience is a new experience, mm-hmm. most of the time they like it.
One thing that you mentioned there, you mentioned this adaptability, right? You mentioned it's a new experience for everybody, or pilots who are flying within it, but you have to be adaptable as well. And I like how you mentioned that you're both pilots, with Avion Express, specifically captains, right? You've flown with the airline for quite a considerable amount of time now. Before we really dive into, the conversation of ACMI, there may be people watching or people who may want to know, okay, what is ACMI, right? What does it mean to be an ACMI pilot? What is it actually in reality? How would you describe what ACMI is today? Franco, let's go with you first.
I would say that you never get bored because you face new airports, new clients, new passengers, sometimes even new cabin crew. Because sometimes we have a wet lease or dry lease contract, depends on the client. And sometimes the pilots are flying with the cabin crew provided by the client. So even colleagues can change other than the base. The only thing that is the same is the aircraft. Other than that, everything. Hotel is different. City is different. Route you fly are different. Sometimes even the cabin crew is different. So there's no way to get bored in Avion Express.
And, you know, Stefano, I actually want to come back to something that you mentioned earlier about, again, flying for the different airlines. And one of the statements that you have as Avion Express is being an airline for airlines, right?
Correct.
Explain that, right, in the context of ACMI.
So let's say that in the context of CMI, we are always the same company. Okay, so we do our stuff, we train our pilots, we have our own procedure, which are Airbus procedures, so almost the procedure that in Airbus are used everywhere in the world. But then we need to change a little bit the mentality because we fly for someone else. So we need to adapt to the procedure and to the way that our clients are managing the flights with the passengers. So we always say welcome on board on behalf of someone else. It's not on behalf only of Avion Express. It's on behalf of other companies. So we need to fit in a different shoes, let's say. This is what is changing a little bit. And on top of that, we have also some difference in some procedures, okay? The way that we load, or we take passenger, or we load the loading compartment. So this is something that we need to study a little bit before starting a new operation, before be deployed in a new base. So something is changing every time.
And just in comparison here, because now both of you as pilots, you've had the journey of, again, flying for just one airline to transitioning to this model where you're flying for, multiple different airlines and you're having to adjust to that. What does that look like in practice, in terms of experience there?
It's look like that maybe you have to manage different tools. Let's say you fly for a company and you have to use some tools, even some web tools, how to fill some form that are a little bit different. So it's something that every time needs you to go back to some new procedure, or you need to open again some procedures that you are not used because maybe you were not flying for that company since 2, 3, 4 months ago. And it's even the call sign, okay? Every time that you change company, you change the call sign. So if a guy that is flying for let's say a company in Germany is used to say always the same call sign for years, every month we change, okay? Even sometimes every day, because when we fly in Turkey, in the same base, we could fly for 2 different companies. So one day we have a call sign, and the day after we have another call sign. And sometimes, our mind is stuck to the previous, to what we were used to.
What you were used to before.
And so this is a little bit funny because sometimes I say, oh, what are we today? Yes, we are this company. Let me make it right because, it's funny, but it's also enjoyable because it's something new.
It's on that point, right? It's something new. It's a new experience. But there's another side to the coin where some people just like the stability, right? Now, as an ACMI pilot, you get to experience things which are very different parts of the world. You're always constantly having to adapt and to change. But there's some pilots out there who, they like the stability. They like to just be with one airline or just have a roster or a schedule that they can expect. What would you say to that, Franco?
If I want to be straight to them, I would say stay away from Avion Express because the stability does not belong to us. If you are talking about roster stability, meaning 20 days on, 10 days off, we can guarantee that stability. In terms of days you spend at home, you are stable. You already know when you are going home. You can plan your parties or your dentist or whatever you want. In terms of stability, we can guarantee that. But if you're planning to work in the same base with the same client for the whole year, then you better go to a normal airline rather than Avion Express.
And Stefano, how would you?
I think that stability doesn't fit at all with a pilot career. Honestly, if you want to have stability, maybe look for another job. It's not a pilot job. Stability is something different. Yes, maybe you can feel a stability if you are based at home and you fly for the same company. But then you get bored, because I have hundreds of examples. I have a nephew, he's 28 years old. He's flying for a low cost. He has a stability. And he's only 28 years old and still starting to say me, Stefano, I would like to change. I would like to have something else. And this means that when you choose to be a pilot, it's a choice that is completely different from stability. If you look for stability, look for another job. Because pilot job is an adventure every day. And it's what keeps you alive. This is my opinion, obviously. Maybe someone else doesn't fit at all with that. And in that case, stay away from Avion. But on the other hand, if I can say something, I would say that I have much more stability now that I'm in Avion than when I was in a company working from Verona and I was living in Verona. I still live in Verona. Because you are in a kind of washing machine. You have 4 days on, 2 days off, 5 days on, 1 day off, and you never know when you will get these days off. So every month is something that is not stable. You cannot plan at all your life. Here I know already. If I want to have 10 days in June, in July, in August, I can do whatever I want with my family. I can plan now in advance my vacation, and I'm sure that I will get it. So this is on personal life, we can see it's a much more stability than a normal company.
And, for both of you, right, you're now kind of speaking from the perspective of being on the other side, right, having experienced ACMI for a number of different years, and you can, give an experiential claim that, oh, no, this is actually what it's like. This is the difference between, flying ACMI or flying, a legacy, in terms of a legacy model or just a home-based airline. What would you say, or rather, let me reframe this question, what first pulled you into ACMI, from the context of transitioning from legacy pilot operations to ACMI? What first pulled you in, and what would you say to someone who maybe is on the other side looking to get in? Franco.
At the beginning was curiosity, because I was not aware. There was nobody doing podcasts explaining me what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I made a jump in the dark. And as soon as I jumped, actually, I started to like it, because I got the chance to visit the world that before I didn't have. So when for a pilot with a family, it's kind of hard to travel, because all the time we start our rest, we reach home, and then we have the family say, okay, let's go travel. I just came back, I don't want to travel. Let me enjoy my couch, please, and watching TV. And in this case, we found a solution that, okay, you want to travel? Fine, join me in the base. Join the base where I am, and I work, you're traveling, we are all happy.
And, we're going to talk about, some of those benefits, and we're going to dive into that. But from a fundamental level, an operational level, what for you, having been on both sides now, are the main differences between, flying ACMI and flying, let's say for a home-based airline? What are those fundamental differences?
The big differences is that you need to have a huge flexibility, because maybe you fly in an area completely different than the one that you are used to. So let's say that this month, I can give you an example, okay? Last year, in the end of June, I was based in Malta, flying to Milano, to Roma, to Europe, okay? And then suddenly, 1 week later, I was based in Cancun. Fly to Puebla, fly to Chihuahua, fly to some other country, some other cities that I had no idea. High elevation airport. Puebla is more than 7,500 feet, around 2,500 meters. Different cultures, because we are not only a multicultural company, but we are displayed, or we go everywhere where we find different culture, completely different culture. And this is something that you start to enjoy a lot. And this is my opinion, obviously. But this is something that is giving you a breath of something new every time. something that you don't have in a normal company, because I was used to fly to Munich and to Frankfurt every day, even twice in a day. And after a month, after years that you do only that, you start to hate this job, because it's not fitting with what was the idea of job that you had when you joined, when you had the dream of being a pilot. This is what I think and what I really feel about ACMI. As Franco, I was lucky because I jumped in Avion Express without knowing anything about CSCMI.
You jumped in the dark as well.
Yeah, jumped in the dark. Totally ignorant about that. Mm-hmm. But then I discovered something completely different. Mm-hmm. And I start to enjoy again, because I'm an old pilot. Mm-hmm. So I can say that I have 40 years flying for many companies, for low cost, for other carriers. So I rediscovered this job just because flying for Avion.
Interesting, narratives that you both kind of, brought in here. Franco, something which you mentioned earlier, that you kind of jumped in the dark and, it was curiosity that led you there. What's it like now, right? Is it still in the dark, or, what's the experience now?
For me, of course, there's a lot of light, because I know everything now. After many years, I know everything. But it's glad that you give us the chance to turn the light on also for the newcomers. Mm. Because watching this podcast, they are not jumping in the dark anymore. Mm-hmm. So this is very nice from you, and I personally thank you for this opportunity that we can give to the new pilots joining us. They already know what to expect. Mm-hmm. And if they are looking for some, let's say, as Stefano said, rediscover the joy of flight, then watching this video, they will apply for sure.
On the aspect of newcomers, right? And, Stefano, something which you mentioned earlier about where, you're an experienced pilot now, you're a veteran pilot in the industry. And ACMI, on paper, when you look at it, it could be both very attractive for both new pilots and experienced pilots as well, in terms of this ability, yes, having to always have to adapt and to adjust to new situations, but having the ability to fly all across the world, right? Which pilots, or how would I say it, what's the best fit, younger pilots or experienced pilots, in terms of coming into ACMI? Who fits the model best from your experience?
The age is not the only factor to consider, because maybe you have a 25 years old first officer fully in love with the new girlfriend, then 10 days at home are not enough for him. Mm-hmm. And even if he's young, he will not enjoy our roster pattern. Mm-hmm. He's looking for a low cost base in his hometown, where he can see his girlfriend 31 days per month. Mm-hmm. Sorry for him. But on the other side, an older pilot, maybe, I don't know, with the family that is more oriented to the travel, maybe with older kids that don't need his wife to stay at home to check on the kids. My case, for example, then in that case, the wife can join him in the bases. Mm-hmm. So even if you are older, there is a chance that you will enjoy this kind of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So it's not only depending on the age.
Mm-hmm. Stefano, do you agree with that as well?
Totally agree. Yeah, it's a nice company. It's a nice, let's say, job for a young pilot, because you have the possibility to fly everywhere and to see many different airports, and you can challenge different operation. So I think it's nice, because maybe you travel from Europe to a new position an airplane in Argentina, and not many pilots, young pilots, are going to do that, because when you fly for a let's say a normal company, let me call like this. Normally, young pilots, they just fly normal sectors. Here, it's everyone can fly the airplane from Europe to somewhere in Argentina or to somewhere in the Southeast, in South Asia. So this is something that is giving you a huge experience.
Something I want to touch on now is the lifestyle and actual operations, right? A word that's kept coming up in our conversation today is, the stability, right? Where as Avion Express, you're constantly adapting, right? It's not a stable environment. But on the other side of that coin, actually, on the contrary, you as an airline actually have that stability of being able to adapt to these different environments, and you've got that experience, you've got that, reputation of being able to deal with that, across different regions, different operations, different airlines. One aspect of stability in that is rotations. To some aspect, pilots still need to know how or where they're going to be based before rotation. So what does that look like? When do pilots find out that, they're going to be based in a certain country, in a certain region? When do they find that out? Maybe Franco, I'll start with you.
Normally, we publish the roster around the 15th of the previous month.
Mm-hmm. And are there ever any roster changes or schedule changes?
You have sometimes roster change, but the roster can change depending during your days of working. Mm-hmm. If you are 10 days off, they will not change the 10 days off. Mm-hmm. They might change the base, maybe, but during your working period. So basically you know when you're going home already, and nobody will touch that.
Mm-hmm. Something that also came up before, again, the ability to choose the bases, right? Is that there in ACMI? Is there that choice optionality, Stefano?
It depends on what the crew planning has to. I mean, the ability of the crew planning to help you or to satisfy your request. Okay, it depends. There are too many factors sometimes. Okay, it's not easy for them to change bases if everything is done, because maybe when I start my roster, my rotation, the base that I want to go to is already full of pilot. Mm-hmm. So they don't need you there, but they need you in some other place. On the other hand, you can maybe ask to the crew planning if you can have some bases. Normally we publish a preference basis, so where you can put the preference that you would like to have. And normally they help you in this. But yes, it's difficult. It's not easy for them. They have bases everywhere in the world. So, if we are flying in Argentina or in Vietnam, it's not that you can exchange easily one for the other, because they are at the opposite part of the world. But in Europe, yes, you may exchange. Maybe if you have the possibility and you leave or you start your rotation in the same day of another colleague, and you are based in Stuttgart, is based in Düsseldorf, for example, and you want to exchange. Yeah, this is something that is possible.
And maybe another aspect about that is, which you can help me, get some insight on, is usually how long do pilots stay at one base, right? Is it? Mm-hmm.
Usually we stay 20 days. Okay, so 20 days at base, 10 days plus travel at home. And then maybe we change the next rotation is in another base. But could be also that you are planned for another rotation in the same base. Normally you have 20 days in a base, 10 days off, and then another 20 days in another base.
And I know, Franco, you spoke about that, 2010 split. Does that ever change, at any point? Or
if you change continent, we have a roster for European roster called the European roster. Mm-hmm. Which is in the European area. It's not Europe as if you go to North Africa, for example, we consider it Europe. But if you go to Mexico, in order to give you a little bit of days for the adaptability of the jet lag, etc., we do 33 days of duty and then 15 days off.
Yeah, it's different in summer and winter.
Yes, 33, 30. Anyway, farther you go, more days you work, more days you get of home. Mm-hmm. Normally, the ratio average is 2.5 days of work, you gain 1 day home, 1 day at home. Mm-hmm.
Which is actually quite attractive. Something which is more, I guess, something you would both experience, but I'm very curious about it now is, so let's say you may be based in Latin America and, one of your bays there, and you have your operations, and then now you need to, you've got your 10 days off, right? But then directly after that, you may be getting based in, halfway across the world in, Southeast Asia. That little window that you have, right? Do you go home? Do you stay, at the current base that you are? How do you prepare, like luggage and everything? How do you kind of adjust to that?
We, as a contract, in the contract, we guarantee always the positioning home to the pilot. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter where you are. If you're starting your 10 days at home, or 15, depends how many days you gained, Avion will buy you a ticket to go home. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter where you're based or where you've been working. Mm-hmm. So you're going home. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, if you don't like your wife and you want to go somewhere else, you're free to don't use the ticket we provide, and you go in another place, no problem.
Stefano,
if you want to stay, you are based in Cancun and you want to spend 15 days in Cancun because it's a wonderful place, you can write the company, I don't need a ticket this time. Yeah. Can you please base me also for next month in Cancun? I would like to stay 15 days here instead of going home. Yeah, this is true. But yeah, normally you have enough time, because when you have 15 days at home, it's 2 weeks in the middle of two positioning. It's quite enough, and you can plan whatever you want.
One aspect which is quite important, and obviously you've just been describing, in terms of the scheduling and the rostering, right, which is different. Franco, you just described how it's different, in different regions. One very important aspect is that you're constantly having to adjust to different airlines, different procedures, different processes. What does that feel like mentally for you?
I mean, it feels like be flexible. Nothing. I mean, if you start fighting this way of life, then most probably you will get exhausted in a while, because you have a kind of resistance to the adaptability of this kind of rotation. But if you embrace it and you have time to check. I mean, I'm not worried about where I will be based and what are the procedures in the new base. Okay, once I get the new roster, I'm going to Cancun. But it's too early to start to see what's going on in Cancun. And then I have time, because I have maybe a flight of 17 hours. In these 17 hours, I open my book. I check what is the procedures in Cancun. I try to understand everything. And then when I'm arrived, maybe I have 2 days off. I start looking where I am, what I have to do, check what are the facilities, everything. So it's just a mindset that you need to have. Obviously, if you start fighting this kind of system, then you get exhausted in a while.
And Franco, for you as well, I mean, does this constant change, does it ever, maybe for you personally, or, for the pilots that you deal with, because you are, chief pilot with Avion Express, does it ever affect their daily work life or daily operations?
Maybe at the beginning, when they join, at the beginning, they need a few months to adapt. Mm-hmm. But once this period is complete, they are used to it. They mm-hmm. know that they have to carry, let's say, summer clothes and winter clothes in the bag. Mm-hmm. You never know if, as Stefano said, if the roster will change mm-hmm. during your working period. They might send you to a colder place or to a warmer place. Mm-hmm. And but normally all our pilots are flexible enough mm-hmm. to enjoy this style, flying style. Mm-hmm. Let's call it like this.
So they have that ability to adapt, or there's a training period that they do get to adjust to this new routine.
They do the training. They spend 10 days here in Vilnius, and then they do the training in flight, but there is no training to adapt to the roster. Mm-hmm. What we provide, if you go across the ocean, we provide 2 days of to adapt to the new time mm-hmm. off. Basically, you arrive in Mexico, you stay 2 days off, you fine-tune your brain to the new time, and then on the third day, you start flying. So you don't arrive and start flying right away. Otherwise, mm-hmm. in that case would be tough. But with 2 days off, normally you adapt.
An interesting aspect of what you've both mentioned, and obviously we're talking about how you constantly adapt to the different procedures of different airlines. Do you ever feel like a guest airline or guest captain when you're flying with these different airlines, or do you actually feel like you're a part of that airline and you resemble and you embody their culture, their operations? What does that actually feel like?
I think you feel a little bit like a guest, but for this reason you want to perform even better, because you want to show that you are a guest, but you are the proper one. The one that is performing maybe even better than them. So this is the feeling that I have. So I'm proud to be part of Avion Express. I'm proud to give the service to other companies.
And on the other side of that coin is that the passenger, right, who's being flown in the aircraft, they won't have an idea, or they can't really tell that it's a different airline flying on behalf of the airline that that they may have booked their ticket with. Franco, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, they don't notice. We receive some questions sometimes, since few times we fly with the white aircraft, so the passengers are approaching the aircraft and they are wondering, is this the right?
Is this the same?
the right airline? Yeah. It's the right airline. Our cabin crew are great, explaining that they are on the right plane. And then, sometimes, of course, depending on the client, we might not have the cabin announcement in their own language.
Yes, I was about to ask about that.
But when we brief before the flight, we, as a captain, we ask if we have some cabin crew that can speak the language of the client. And in that case, that cabin crew is going to perform the
briefing.
The passenger's announcement. So.
And then there's an aspect where obviously you as the captains, you make an announcement to the passengers who are flying. This could be just before takeoff, or you're flying at 36,000 feet. You make an announcement. What do you say there? Do you say this is this particular airline, or do you say it's us as Avion Express flying on behalf of them? What do you usually say?
Yeah, normally I say welcome on board on behalf of the company, the name of the company, and Avion Express. So in order that they know that something is not only the owner company that is flying the flight. So they are aware about that.
And Franco, for you as well, same experience?
Yeah, I do the same, but I think that most of the passengers, they don't really understand what's going on. They hear this name, they say, okay, as long as we are going to destination, it's fine.
That's the most important thing.
With no delay, it's okay.
Yeah, because they don't know our name, basically. Even when they ask many people ask me, which company are you flying for? Avion Express. Huh?
Where do you fly normally? Everywhere, really.
So they don't recognize Avion Express as an airline.
And Stefano, I like that you just mentioned that statement there, that where do you fly, right? Again, something which we mentioned earlier, which is, you could, if we separate them to two parts, which is flying the usual legacy, model as a pilot, you find that some pilots fly for 30, 40 years for the same airline, right? Same destinations, kind of a fixed schedule. It might change over time, but it's, a fixed expectation. Whereas for you, you're flying to different places, you're going to different bases, you're flying out of different bases. For you personally, which bases or how many bases have you been, based at? For both of you. Stefano.
I have no idea. I should check on my logbook. Many bases. If I check on the first 15 years, almost the same basis, okay? If you check page by page, it's always Verona, Munich, Frankfurt. Yeah. Now, if you open my book, you see names that say, "Whoa, what is this one? Where have you been?" So completely different. So it's so nice to have this logbook fixed in the first part of my career and my life, and now it's completely different.
Completely different.
Something new every 10 pages. There's something new. So it's so nice.
It tells a different story.
I stared at it, and Really? I was flying there? Come on.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Franco, for you as well?
Yeah, we change a lot. I'm not flying that much anymore, but till a few years ago I was changing a lot, maybe 15 bases already with maybe 15 clients. And it's nice also. I go across some CV sometimes because I'm also in the process of hiring new pilots. And when I find a CV of a pilot coming from others ACMI, I like when they mention all the clients they've been flying for. So it's nice because you can see how much experience he has.
And Franco, something which you mentioned just there, where you're not flying, a lot more right now, and to give that a bit of context, because you're the chief pilot, of Avion Express, you have, let's say, a different role and different operations which you have to handle, be it on a daily, a monthly, and an annual basis. What's that experience like for you, being the chief pilot of an ACMI airline?
It's more difficult than a normal airline, because you have different time zones. So when somebody is taking off in Vietnam, here is night. Argentina is the same. So some problem can be postponed to a normal timing for me. Some others cannot. So you have to face the problem even during the night, which is not the best for the quality of my life. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy it because it's everything that is demanding for me it boosts me every day to perform better and better and better. So I like what I do. I'm a little bit tired because of the amount of hours I work, but I don't complain. I like it.
My next question, which is probably one of the most important questions I could ask you, which is, again, considering you're constantly, or the company's operating 24/7 across different regions, different time zones. And you as, chief pilot, you constantly have to be ready or present and available to people who may, need an answer from you or need to ask you something. So when do you sleep? That's the most important question then.
I ask this question to myself as well, but I don't have an answer actually.
Not yet?
No. Maybe, if you want a recent example, I'm going to sleep tomorrow around 8 a.m. if I'm lucky, because tonight I have to do a simulator. So my timing, sleeping time is, let's say, a lot flexible.
One aspect of that, again, being available. Now, you as Avion Express, you invest quite a lot into communication, right? Having the right communication infrastructure, staying in touch with your pilots, with the different bases, it's very important, right? To deliver that quality, be it across the different regions, different time zone, with different pilots, different ages, different experiences. How do you keep in touch of this communication aspect with your pilot, with your bases? What's that experience like? And Stefano, I want to start with you for this one.
We keep in touch via email, so we receive a lot of email, and then in the bases we have the base captain who is, let's say, connected directly to Franco for any problem, and then we have the base manager who is managing everything around the base, the hotel, all the facilities. So at the end, it's not that we leave Vilnius and we go alone somewhere, okay? A piece of Avion Express is going with you. So you are always, every day, you are supported, okay? If you have any problem with the hotel, something is wrong, the company is there to help you. So you are not alone. And this is something very important. So the communication is high. And it's easy to communicate and not to report any problem because you have the people that is dealing with that.
And Franco, I'm sure you deal with, let's say thousands of messages, probably on a weekly, if not daily basis that you have to manage. What's your view on that communication and how you just stay in touch with everyone and how the company approaches that as well?
Yeah, of course, I don't communicate directly with the pilots. Most of the time, I deal only with the base captain and station manager. Otherwise, would be crazy. Of course, there are daily cases where pilots approach me directly, but let's say it's for some situation that really they are really urgent. Mm-hmm. And maybe the base captain at that moment is flying, so they contact me directly. Mm-hmm. But most of the time I have, like, let's say, filters or barriers mm-hmm. before reaching me that can stop the questions in advance. Mm-hmm.
So there's a structure in terms of, how the communication flows, yes. which I guess is necessary because, different times on different teams and departments, you need that structure and approach. Something which, you touched on very briefly there, or we were getting into it in terms of the personal side, of the experience, right? This could be time with family, time with friends, time away from family and time away from friends as well. And, your home environment. How do you deal with that, as captains, as pilots, in terms of just navigating, that atmosphere? Stefano?
Yeah, it's a little bit tough because when you are away from the family, it's hard. But on the other hand, you know that when you are going home, the quality of the time that you can spend with the family is very high because you disconnect completely. At least I disconnect completely from the company. I have my 10 days off. I'm fully dedicated to my family, to my children, and I can have a quality time. I wouldn't say that I had the same when I was in other companies, okay? Because even if I was 2 days off, and then I was unpacking my bags. I was already the second day thinking, okay, now I have to pack my bags, and then tomorrow where I go. And then I was in what I was calling before in a washing machine, okay? You are never disconnect. Mm-hmm. So you are always, in a way, connected to your job. Here, the quality of time when you are at home is very high.
One of the most prevalent and talked about topics, especially today for pilots, is aspects like pilot fatigue, right? Especially today, especially coming off, the previous 5-year period, which we had, with the pandemic downturn and then the continuous flying. And, coming into a model where, again, you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, and sometimes you may have long rotations. Sometimes that might be draining. What are some of those aspects in terms of, keeping this conversation open that might be draining about having long rotations, and how, might a pilot deal with them? And is there, pilot feedback, an opportunity for a pilot maybe to, reach out to the company and just have a dialogue about, oh, I may be experiencing this, how can I navigate that? Is there that infrastructure there?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We have fatigue management, let's say, monitoring very carefully, following EASA regulation. We also have a fatigue manager. Our colleague Evelina, she's checking and monitoring the fatigue reports of the pilots. Mm-hmm. They can report fatigue anytime. Mm-hmm. We will guarantee the rest in that case. All the time they report fatigue. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, Evelina is collecting the tendency of the flights, tendency of the pilot. She passed this study to us, flight operation, to our colleague Jurate, who is in charge of the rostering, and we fine-tune the assignment and the roster depending on the fatigue study that we performed, mm-hmm. in order to reduce to the minimum the level of fatigue of our pilots. Mm-hmm.
Now, Franco's just given us, one side of that coin, which is how, as a culture, as a company culture, Avion Express addresses fatigue and how you manage that and how you, preempt it and, seek to prevent it and to kind of constantly monitor it. Stefano, I know you're flying a lot more, and you, from an experiential level, how do you, as a captain, kind of manage fatigue? Because I'm sure it does come into the equation sometimes.
Does. But honestly, I have to say that even if I fly much more than Franco, normally I fly between 400 and 500 hours per year, which is average is much less than any other company. I wouldn't make, let's say, I wouldn't talk about low cost, that normally a pilot is flying something like 900, so the maximum allowed by the regulation. And in that case, you can really feel fatigue. But it's true that when we are based somewhere, it's not that we are only working. So we have a normal roster. So maybe we fly for 5 days, consecutive days, and then we get 2 days off. Mm-hmm. So we have time to recover. I wouldn't say that sometimes if you fly every day for sectors, at the last day, at the 5th day, yes, you feel a little bit exhausted. But it's not that different from other companies. It's not that in doing this kind of activities, it's different from, let's say, I would say another company that you're flying from home. I would say that most probably flying from home, you are even more fatigued. Because when I go back after a flight, I can jump in my bed in the hotel and take a nap immediately. Mm-hmm. If you go back home, I'm not sure that you can do. I'm not sure that you can jump in the bed and say, "Oh, I'm fatigued." Mm-hmm. What? Come on, there are a lot of things to do now.
Things to do, yes.
Think about the kids. Go. And then the day after, you start another day, and you feel the fatigue from the day before. And after 5 days like that, then I will report fatigue most probably, for both, for my wife and for the company.
But just to recap, we do 2010, but the 10 days off are not the days off taken from the duty. So you're flying for 20 days, but you still get your days off during the 20 days. Mm-hmm.
So if I understand this correctly, you fly your 20 days, and then you've got the 10 days, 10 days off, but you're still on duty.
No, 10 days at home. Mm-hmm. But when we say you're flying 20 days, doesn't mean that you're flying for 20 days. Mm-hmm. Within the 20 days, you still get the days off. Mm-hmm. So out of 20 days, you might fly 13 days, really flying. And then 7 days, 6 days might be off inside the 20 days.
Inside that 20
so you're
days.
getting the off days within the 20 days, and you're getting the 10 days off at home after the 20 days. Mm-hmm.
So, and as I understand it now, it's 20 days, but not consecutive flying, but it's just 20 cumulative days where
it's 20 days from the 1st of the month up the 20th of the month. Mm-hmm. It's always 20 days in the calendar days, but within these 20 calendar days, you're not flying 20 days. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're flying from the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and then the 4th and 5th off, for example. Mm-hmm. And then 6th, 7, and like 3-2, 4-2, 5-2. But you still get the days off within the 20 days.
Within those 20 days. Now, the reason I've stressed on this topic is because other people who may want to know more, they say, okay, if I'm flying for those 20 days, right, and then I've got the 10 days off, in terms of remuneration, what does that look like within the 20 days? And the 10 days off, is there remuneration for that as well? Or is it different? Could you maybe describe that?
It's different. The 10 days off are 10 days at home. You are not, it's like you are not inside the company, okay? You go home, you disconnect completely, then you receive the ticket to start again 1 or 2 days before, and you know where you go. I mean, you know already by the roster. In the 20 days, let's say I arrive in Stuttgart, okay? And have my 20 days on. So I arrive, tomorrow I fly. Maybe I fly for 4 days. No? And then I have 2 days off in Stuttgart. So I can do whatever I want. So if I have my family who join me in Stuttgart, we can have a weekend somewhere, let's say to a nice place, to the city or whatever we want, okay? So, and then I start again flying. Maybe I fly for 3 days. Maybe I have 1 or 2 standby. It means that I'm in the base, standby. If something happened, they can call me. If nothing happened, I just stay in the hotel, eating, not drinking, obviously. But yes, I mean, it's like to be at home, but in another place. So you have the same roster of someone that is based at home, but on these 20 days, this roster is in another place. It's not at home.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the fascinating and very interesting things about speaking to both of you, again, you're giving the full view of ACMI, right? Both from a company perspective, from an operational perspective, right? Trying to give the full picture or paint the full picture of what it's like to fly as an Avion Express ACMI pilot, ACMI captain as well. And it's very clear that obviously within ACMI, you've got these different benefits, right? You've got these different experiences which are very different, right? Which give you a lot of flexibility, but they also ask you for flexibility as well, which is very different. From both your perspectives, what type of pilot, what type of captain would thrive in the ACMI model, based on what you've shared and your own personal experiences? Franco.
We already mentioned it many times. A flexible pilot is a pilot that can join Avion Express. A pilot looking for stability, looking for to be based in the same base forever. Better, sorry to say that, stay away from us.
Very strong. Stefano?
Yeah, I would say the same. If you do not embrace this type of activity, better you do something else. On top of that, I can say that I know some pilots who were in Avion Express. They were looking for stability, and now they are complaining every day. And they were not complaining in Avion. They were looking for stability, but they were happy about the job that they were doing. Now they have stability, but seems that it's not enough.
And that's always the age-old question, right? It's never enough sometimes.
It's never enough.
One aspect that I'd like to ask both of you, when you look back one day in the future on this ACMI chapter of your life story, of your pilot story, what do you want this chapter to represent?
Nice questions. I never think about that. I never thought about that, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. Franco, can you help me?
I'm planning to go to pension in Avion Express, so I will not switch to another airline. I will not betray Avion Express as long as they want me. I will stay here. So I didn't think about your question as well, because I'm planning to finish my career here. So once I stop my career, then I will think about Avion, and I will think about everything else. But I'm not planning to switch to a normal airline or another ACMI. So I'm not considering this option at all. So I don't think about it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think to continue after my 65. Now I'm almost 60, okay? So I have another 5 years flying. I'm already considering, because I'm examiner, so I work also in the simulator, to continue working for Avion Express after as external simulator trainer or simulator examiner. So it's something that I don't want to cut my connection to Avion Express. So it means that we are happy.
And just looking at your experiences today, I think, very honest and very, very great answers coming from both of you. What have been your most memorable experiences with Avion? It could be, again, in the office, or it could be flying, it could be training, anything at all, being at a special base, for example. What have been your most memorable experiences?
The most memorable for me was when I went back flying after COVID, after a company I was flying for, it was a cargo company. I joined Avion Express. So I got a call I did already the initial course to join the company. I was at home waiting for the training, and they called me from the training department and asked me, Stefano, would you like to go to Santo Domingo for training? Of course.
I was going to say no.
And when I arrived in Santo Domingo, and we were based in, we were in a resort, okay, where people normally go and pay to go for vacation. I said, come on, guys. I was really lucky. Look, I'm in a vacation flying. What can I want? I cannot have more. Nothing more, because it was the initial experience with Avion Express, and I enjoyed a lot, really. And was so exciting that I still remember Santo Domingo as one of the best working period of my life.
Franco, for you?
I don't have a single event that reminds me like special happiness, but the entire new life that I experience here, for me is the real event, because as I mentioned before, my main problem was to make my family happy once I was going back home, and I was too tired to to travel. And since I'm in Avion, they can join me, and basically we stop fighting for this. You must travel when you have your days off. This is what I really appreciate from this new lifestyle.
Now, we've been discussing ACMI today, both your experiences as captains within Avion Express, your experiences in terms of adapting to different airlines, flying to different places, and we've covered quite a lot. And we could stay here for the next 3 hours and probably continue going. But I do have some rapid fire questions that I just want to fire over to you. So feel free to say the first thing that comes into your mind. Maybe not the first thing.
I scare you, huh?
But yeah, I've got some rapid fire questions. I'm just going to fire this over to you, and feel free to give what answer comes first. So for this first one here, favorite ACMI base so far?
Santo Domingo.
Santo Domingo. Franco?
Cancun.
Cancun. Fantastic. Most surprising country you've operated in?
Malta for me.
Malta.
Mexico.
Okay. One city you'd go back to tomorrow? And considering that it's winter right now, I'm sure it's a warmer climate. Yeah.
The favorite base, which is Cancun for me.
Santo Domingo.
Both. Even Cancun, I've been there. It's a fight between
both.
both. Let's say Santo Domingo then.
Santo Domingo. Okay,
So we don't
fantastic.
meet.
Hardest place to adapt, culturally and operationally as well, in your experience?
Entire experience or only in Avion?
Let's do both.
I faced some difficulties understanding Turkish English when I was in Antalya at the beginning. Then you fine-tune your hearing and you understand it after a while. For the cultural difference, my experience in China was really demanding.
Stefano?
Maybe Kosovo.
Kosovo?
Yeah, Pristina. It's difficult to understand what's going on there.
Okay. Is this language or operations or?
Maybe operation not, because operation is working quite good. But maybe yes, the area, the environment, everything is.
It's a bit confusing, I guess.
Yeah, we know.
Okay. Now, best layover view you've ever had? Interesting.
Of course.
Santo Domingo.
Even Cancun.
Even Cancun. Franco?
I like Vilnius, believing or not, because I come from the south of Europe, and I don't get the chance to see these white views. So
Vilnius at what time? Winter or summer?
No, for a few days in winter I like it.
Yes. And the rest?
And the summer I like it as well, because I come from Sicily and it gets really hot. So I don't mind coming here and reduce the temperature like 10, 15 degrees.
Yeah.
From 40 to 25, I appreciate it a lot.
And for both of you, the most difficult or most challenging airport you've had to fly into on ACMI?
Maybe Mexico City.
Okay.
As well, yeah. Mexico City was demanding.
You've mentioned it both. Is there a correlation in terms of experience?
The elevation of the airport, traffic, the way you approach the final leg, it's demanding, yeah.
And can I add a second one, maybe Split for runway 23. It's a little bit demanding.
Which Split? Oh, yes, Split, yes. Is it also elevation or?
Yeah, Croatia. Yes.
Is it also elevation or?
No, it's because, if you fly for runway 23, you are close to the mountain, so you need to do a kind of a visual approach, which is a little bit, you need to be in certain parameter in a way that is not that easy. So the first time could be a little bit misleading, and you can end up in an unstabilized approach, and then you have to do the go around. So yes.
But I'm sure you have training.
Which is what I did in my first flight to Split.
But I'm sure you have training for such situations.
Yeah, we are trained about. But training is something, and then when you experience in a reality, it could be a little bit different.
It's a bit different.
Yes, we are trained a lot. We do it.
Okay. And for the final question, how would you describe ACMI, either in one word or one sentence?
I would say different style of life.
Very strong, bold.
I would say, since you said only one word, I would say fun.
Fun. Fantastic. Well, this conversation has definitely been fun and a different style in terms of, approaching a podcast. Franco, Stefano, thank you so much for, taking the time to sit down and, give a bit more insight into what ACMI is, what someone can expect to experience if they're flying ACMI, and most importantly, what it feels like in the experience of being an Avion Express pilot and an Avion Express captain. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Michael.
Fantastic.
It was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, really, Michael.